once again, I welcome all of you authors to the Voices at the Edge. I think we have about 15 or 16 people who have agreed to lend their voice to the project. So I'm very grateful for that. There's been some, just in the last, we've been about 2 weeks since we met, and there's been some, different, turn of events, in our nation with everything going on. So, we're still on track for that. So I'm just going to kind of check in with you guys. Those of you who had questions, you've been emailing me. So hopefully I've been responding to that. Thank you guys for signing the contract. Hopefully that was understandable. As far as, the language, you get the things like that. But, basically, you guys are going to be free to, use this book, at your discretion for sales and things like that. We're not in any kind of lifelong partnership. If you guys do book signings and all that, that money is yours. I'm not going to ask you about it, other than, hey, hopefully it all went well. Some people had a couple of questions about that. So I wanted to make sure I was clear about that. So what I want to do is, I know some of you probably already have a lot of ideas about what you want to contribute and what you want to write. But for those of you who are still, there is Patricia. Hey, Paisha P. For those of you who are still kind of mulling over, what do I want to write? Because I know some of you have talked about, what your area of expertise is. And I was just kind of sitting, some thoughts came to my mind. So I'm going to throw these ideas out at you. I'm kind of getting into my head how some of the chapters are going to be titled, or some of the chapter topics, and other topics will probably come as you guys are sending in your writings, and I kind of get a feel for what that looks like. But I was just thinking, with all this hullabaloo in the nation about masks, wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, it's patriotic not to wear a mask, it's spiritual to wear a mask, all this craziness over, a piece of material. And of course, we know it's about a whole lot more than just a little piece of material. And so I want to include in our book a chapter dealing with unmasking, and basically the truths that we learned about ... And so what that means is, basically, with this whole thing about masking and unmasking, usually people hide things through a mask. And over these last several months, we're getting a clear picture of our coworkers, our Facebook friends and things like that. And I'm quite sure when you think about the term unmasking, some people have truly unmasked themselves. Some situations have truly unmasked themselves. So for those of you who would like to contribute to that chapter about unmasking, you can go from the angle of the different truths you learned about. It could be about different truths you learned unmasking yourself through this. It could be that that you have a lot more fear about things than you thought you did, or, I really don't like my home, or I really don't like my spouse, or, different, be honest about that if you want to. Or it could be things you learned about, this nation, things you learned about, your coworker who said she was your friend, or, things you learned about just, and so that chapter is going to be all about unmasking things that you learned once you begin to unmask the truth about things. And so you are free to contribute. It could be, a poem, it could be an essay, it could be, anything about unmasking. So kind of keep that in your toolbox as we go forward. That is going to be a chapter in the book. Another chapter that I want to have in the book is titled, basically, tips on how to survive a pandemic. It could be funny, it could be spiritual, it could be insightful. You could do a poem about it, but I'm quite sure over these last 7 months, we've learned a lot about how to survive a pandemic. And our pandemic is not just medical, but it's also a racial pandemic. We've entered a political pandemic. We've entered a spiritual pandemic, I mean, this thing is so multi-layered. You know, who knew 2020, you know, we're talking about 2020 is, perfect vision. You know, who saw this coming? Um, whatever. And so I would love to do a chapter about, you know, things that you learned about surviving a pandemic. You could do it in the form of, you know, a list. It doesn't even have to be full. It could be a bullet list. You could do, it could be something funny, like things I've learned in a pandemic. You know, as far as, you know, one thing that I've learned in a pandemic during this is that I need pandemic clothes. You know, clothes that I feel comfortable at home, but I might make a quick run to Walmart. I don't want to change my clothes. So I found some pandemic dresses with pockets for $10 at Walmart. But, you know, my whole wardrobe has pretty much changed during this pandemic. But, you know, I don't want to walk around in pajamas because then I want to go to Walmart. Then I got to change clothes. Then I got more dirty clothes. So I need a pandemic wardrobe. So those are one thing that I've learned. So it can be something humorous, it can be, but that is going to be a chapter, you know, things I've learned in a pandemic. That might not be the title, but that's pretty much the topic. And so now we're going to move to another chapter that I'm going to add, and it's gonna be entitled Taking a Knee. And once again, yeah, you can approach this in many different ways. You can talk about, you know, the whole George Floyd and this incident that kind of, you know, ignited everything. You could talk about, you know, the whole kneeling for the national anthem. You can talk about it from a spiritual aspect. Those of you who are fiction writers or who want to dabble in fiction and poetry, you could actually, and this is for fiction writers, speak from the perspective. I want somebody to really take this and run with it. I want someone to speak from the perspective of the officer's knee. If you could tell the story from the viewpoint of the officer's knee, whether it's in a poem, poetry, prose, whatever, what is his knee thinking? And so you could create a story, or even, once again, it could be just an essay from that. I have my friend Patricia Patterson on the line here, and I'm going to pick with her a little bit. I've known Pat since about 1990, 1991. We met when we were both stationed in California. And when we first met, we really didn't like each other. She thought I was, I had some kind of attitude or some type of way, and I thought she was crazy. And so we tried to connect, and we both figured, we like to write, we write poetry. And so she gave me a poem that she wrote, and she scared me because the poem, Pat, I'm going to bust you out here. The poem went something along the lines is, I got blood in my eye and it's thick. And I was like, oh, this chick is crazy. Right, Marit. I was like, oh, this chick is crazy. But she was in her early 20s, and she was just, she was, pat. Well, because, 30 years later, 2 sons and a bonus daughter later, she's mellowed out some. She's gotten soft on me. And so, Pat, I'm going to give you permission to go back to the old Pat. And if you want to be angry and write a poem about the officer's knee, you have full permission to go back to the old Pat of 1990 just for a minute. I'm going to give you permission to be that crazy Pat that I first met.
Okay. All right.
just for a minute. Just for a minute.
Help me, Wayne. Help me. She was Patricia, not Pat.
Just for a minute.
No. Don't make her go back, baby. Don't make her go back. Please, don't make her.
Just for a minute. And you got to understand, like I said, when we met, we were, that kind towards one another. But she ended up being my maid of honor in my wedding, and, and everything. So, You know, it's not about how you meet. It's about how, you know, the things that happens afterwards. And I love her. I love her dearly. So I'm going to give her a little bit of permission just momentarily to tap into that particular path if she desires to write from an angry need perspective.
Do it.
So this, like, once again, that chapter is going to be called Taking a Knee, and you're going to write from the perspective of Officer Chauvin's knee. And you can even go back in history to the numbers of times, you know, back in the civil rights movement, where you see officers with their knees on people's necks. And so this whole chapter will be from the perspective of a knee. So we got that. So those are just some ideas that I just kind of want to throw out there. Now, another idea that I'm going to get you guys permission on, per se, is that I know I said that we were going to release this book in October, but I really began to sit and think, and I thought about, you know, we are at such a pivotal time in our nation's history where we're coming upon the 2020 election. And so here's what I submit to you guys, is that we wait until after the election. And so this is going to be probably the last chapter in the election, and I might call it the morning after, where you guys are really going to give us some raw emotions about how you feel about the outcome of the election. You know, some of us, it really ain't gonna matter who wins, it's just gonna suck. So if you want to do this anonymously, you can. But, you know, if you're going to participate in this chapter, kind of start taking some mental notes for yourself about how, you know, what are you thinking now on, you know, July 30th? And as we get closer to the election, begin to document and journal what's going through your heart, what's going through your mind. And then on November 3rd, on November 4th is when we hopefully will find out for sure, to really capture your raw emotions, your raw thoughts, and begin to formulate in your mind, you know, the morning after. Now what? What are your hopes and dreams for a future generation? Because remember, this book here is going to be a part of American history. And so we're at a very pivotal junction where we have the opportunity to learn from, to speak from the past, become the past, to speak to the present, and to speak to the future. And so, you know, it's kind of like that perfect storm of everything this book can become and everything your voice will become once we publish this. And so it's just a trinity of timelessness there. And so just, you know, for those who are going to participate in that particular chapter, once again, this will probably be the last chapter in the book. And right now, the title feels like it's going to be called The Morning After, because we're going to be dealing with what are we thinking, and, you know, what are our hopes and our dreams and our advice, depending on, you know, who wins, and, you know, who wins, do we all lose no matter what, whatever. And so just kind of think about that. So, hopefully you guys are okay with that. I was going to do a poll, but, you know, if you're okay with that, just kind of give me a thumbs up, raise your hand. And so the book won't come out basically until maybe shortly after the election. So all the other pieces will be edited, all the other pieces will be in place, and those particular stories, poems, whatever, will be the last piece to be added in there. And so that's going to be a chapter titled The Morning After. Okay, so now let's see. One thing that I want to encourage you guys with right now is to begin to think beyond the book, beyond the pages. And so what do I mean by that? Is that I want you guys to think about how you can use this book, your participation in this book, as a platform for other things for you. You know, you can use this book to create seminars, you can use this book to create blogs, you can use this book in however way you want it. But I want you guys to think beyond the pages of the book. That even though you might contribute, oh, I've only got one story in here, it doesn't matter. You are a part of this team, and you can take this book and you could, you could create seminars based on anyone's story because it's a part of the book. And so, once again, I want you to think beyond, oh, I gotta sell this book, I gotta sell this book. No, this book can be so much more to you. Once again, seminars, webinars, classes that you charge people for, okay? I want you to keep this in mind. How can this book become a stream of income for you? Beyond the book, you want to create cups, mugs, whatever. Think about these things beyond the book, and I'll be shooting out ideas and things like that to you about things that you can do with this book. And also, I want you guys to think about different types of collaborations that you could have with your author mates here. And what do I mean by that? So I know, Dr. Miranda, you said you were going to write from a trauma perspective, correct? And so, especially now with everything being accessible with the internet, someone could, let's say you're going to do a seminar about, okay, Debbie, and they might have said that. Let me look at that because I can always change that because I don't want to hold anybody up. So we can fix that. This ain't said nothing but a typo. So what was I saying? So let's say where are we at? Well, Sheena, you're still here. I know part of your story, you talked about what happened with your dad. Sheena, can you take yourself off mute?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you share just a bit of your story and what you're contributing as far as police brutality and your father?
Well, Lord Jesus. All right, so to simplify it, my father was killed by the white supremacists in New Jersey by 3 white men who actually worked. They were not police officers, but they worked for the criminal justice department. They told him ahead of time that they were going to kill him because he would not quit his job that he was on. He went to work anyway, and they wound up killing him. They did not receive jail time. About 8 months later, my mom married a white guy who was actually a pedophile. Found out about 15 years later, after my mom died, that he actually had hands in the murder of my father. Now, it's been a long road, but I realized, and even reading police, the paperwork and the investigator reports and stuff like that, even very recently, that me not knowing, growing up in depth of what really happened and who was raising me, who I call dad, how it really affected me growing up as far as relationships, friendships, being in an all-white neighborhood, being moved to where his people were, fake friendships growing up, and just feeling like I couldn't even cry or self-care, because I felt like I had to be strong. And growing up, the definition of strong was to not show that you were weak. So I couldn't cry. I couldn't cry out for help. I couldn't say I was sad. I literally tried to abandon my blackness for their whiteness. And so that's pretty much what I wrote about.
Okay. So thank you for sharing that, Sheena.
You're welcome.
That's a powerful story on so many levels. But when we talk about how do you use your stories to collaborate with one another, can you imagine you and Dr. Miranda getting together to talk about the trauma of racism, or you and Lisa Crawford getting together to talk about silent screams as far as not being able to share your pain? She has a book and a journal called Silent Screams, where she's talking about sexual crimes and things like that, but it's still, hurts that are unspoken. So imagine if the three of you would put your heads together and say, hey, let's do a Zoom conference talking about, trauma. And so once again, once you begin to see all the different things that are put in this book, you guys can choose to reach out to each other and create platforms and create, classes, create online things, platforming with one another. So I really want you guys to think, beyond the book, think beyond your borders. Some of you have connections with people in different countries, Nigeria, Australia, Philippines, and things like that. So, now with everything being online, we're not stuck in our cities. We're not stuck in our churches. We're not stuck in this one place with a click of a button and no overhead. You could have a whole conference, global conference, for the cost of a Zoom monthly payment, $15. And but you charge for these things, you split the fees, you work that out. So what I'm saying is, think beyond the book. Begin to think now, how do I want to use this book, my contribution, and collaborate with others on this. And so I want you guys to begin to think about that. So I don't want it to be just about a book. This book is just a platform. This book is a key to open up as many doors as you can think of. And so I don't want you guys to be limited to that. Debbie, I'll go back and look at the contract, and if it was in there that you guys can't create T-shirts or cups, I can go in, I can change that, because like I said, I don't want to hinder anybody's, flow. You creating a cup here in Tennessee is not going to bother Miranda creating a cup in North Carolina. It's not going to conflict with Pat creating a cup in Ohio. And so I don't want to hinder anybody's flow with that. I think that was from an old contract from another project I did when everybody was in the same state. And so, this here, no holds barred, no doors closed. We're going to expand our boundaries, expand our borders. I want you guys to get the biggest bang for your buck that you can out of this. For me, it's not about, trying to pad my pockets. It's really all about you and helping you guys do, make more of this than just a book. So is everybody understanding me what I'm saying about that? Okay, please understand my heart on this. I really want this to be more than a book for all of you. And if you have an idea that you want to run by me, or you need help in kind of fleshing it out, we can grab a cup of coffee, meet on Zoom or whatever. And that's my thing. I'm the ideal midwife. I love fleshing out ideals and birthing ideals in people. And so that's my thing. And so I love to do my thing. So anybody, you got an idea, well, can I do this or how can I do that? Hit me up and we can talk about it. I think that's really all that I had. Let me go through the chat and see if I had any questions. Going to come from a curriculum for youth to have a youth summit. Okay, Michaela, our 12-year-old, says she's thinking about a curriculum for youth to have a youth summit to speak about how they plan to do better. So that's cool. So you got a 12-year-old already thinking ahead of us about how she's gonna use this book too. I'm quite sure knowing Michaela, she gonna charge folk to come. So that's cool. Do we have any questions? You guys are doing good. Like I said, you got the information about, sending in, your short bio. And like I said in the email, I gave you that bio template. This is the time to pump yourself up so people know, who you are, how to contact you, what you do. You make sure you got your email, your Facebook, how to know your Twitter. Pump yourself up. This is not the time to be humble. I'm just doing this little photography thing. Nah, I'm a fantastic photographer hit me up, peekaboo, I see you. That's my friend Pat. She's a photographer, and she started her own photography business. So I'm so proud of her for that. So we're good. Any questions, comments, concerns, or anyone struggling with writing? I am going to send out something shortly here to kind of help from the technical part of writing, some things that you need to include. So kind of a template for an acronym that I created that kind of help you organize your thoughts there. So those of you who have been in my writing class, you probably already know it, but a refresher won't hurt. So with that, any other questions, comments, concerns? I don't want to hold you here all night. Unmute yourself, Bettina. Go ahead, Pat.
I was wondering, could I submit a couple photos? Because I've actually been out taking photos of people with masks on, masks off, expressions. And I was thinking about kind of writing about that, you know, how we've become this no contact community all around, you know. And my personal struggle is old school. You know, I was taught to a firm handshake. That's gone. I was told to look someone in the eye. That's gone. You know, it's a struggle. Small, you know, compared to other people's struggle, but it's a struggle, you know, to try and change what I do.
Yeah. And I think that'll be perfect for the chapter in unmasking. It might even be perfect. Some of it might even fit into the, you know, the things I learned in the pandemic that you might say, you know, I realized I'm old school. You know, I learned that I'm old school and I miss these things. And so, you know, so I think, you know, with the pictures of the mask, you know, I think that would fit perfectly with, you know, in the unmasking chapter, you know, and make sure you put, you know, photographs taken by your business. You know, once again, I want you guys to promote whatever it is that you're doing. This is the platform. I'm not holding anybody back from anything. My friend Fernice down here, you know, she's a financial guru, and I'm quite sure she has a lot to add with, you know, this you know, the whole financial aspect of, you know, the pandemic and everything that we're going through. Yes, Nisa, you unmuted yourself. You say
me, Frank?
Yeah.
I'm really struggling because I want to do something financial, but never wrote a book based on finances. So I'm trying to, and then I'm so, you know, emotional when it comes to the social justice that's going on. So I was going to ask, since you said something, can we participate in like more than one chapter? Is that okay? And then you determine what you feel like is best?
You can submit as much as you want. Once again, I'm not holding anybody back. And what I want you guys to do is, because you know your topics, you know, you said I haven't written a book about this. You write that 1,500 word essay, and then boom, it can become an ebook. Expand it a little bit, add some stuff, and boom, you got an ebook. Oh yeah, now you got a book now. And then, you know, you can expand it even further because I know you got a lot, you know, and then you have a foundation to go ahead and write a separate book, because anything you write in this book is yours. And so you are free to use whatever you submit into your own personal larger pieces. So if you guys submit, you know, a 1,500 word or less essay, and then you want to turn that into an ebook and add your own stuff, honey, go for it. I'm not stopping nobody's shine here. I will not. So yeah, definitely, Fernice, I know, you know, well, we already talked about this Sunday, the book you're supposed to be writing anyway, so we good.
Right. Okay, don't call me out on this phone. Hey.
Free title and everything.
Oh my God.
I'm not gonna tell everybody, but we good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Laura, this is Corey. Is there like some kind of standard or some kind of format of expanding that to an ebook? Like, are ebooks about this long, or they're this, you know?
I do have a visual that talks about the different lengths of different types of books. So I can make sure to send that to you guys for those of you who are thinking about maybe creating an ebook or something like that. So I can send that visual to you. But yeah, definitely anything you write here, you can make it into, once again, an ebook. Add a couple of words, add some graphs, add some different things. Ebooks are pretty easy to write.
Okay, and Michaela wants you to know she's written 2 poems as she's been sitting here.
Somehow.
Okay, cool. Well, just make sure to send those in. And like I said, I'm going to have some time to sit down and look at things that people have submitted so far. I was just trying to get this Shakespeare paper out of my head. So now I'm a little bit free now with that. So I'm good. Okay, Bettina, were you going to say something? Unmute yourself. Nope, you're still muted.
I'm still muted.
There
Okay.
you go. We got you. Nope. You muted yourself back, Bettina. You still muted.
Oh. Unmute. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. My question is, as far I don't think I received the contract. I guess I will look at my email to make sure I did receive the
It's what? Ask the question again.
mentioned. I didn't receive. I don't think I received the contract that you said you sent out for us to sign. I can always sign it later on.
Check your email today. I think Patricia just signed it, and it goes in succession. And so check your email. I think Patricia just signed hers today or yesterday, and so it was going to you next. So check your email to look for that. So yeah, you probably just got it today.
Okay, that's probably why I hadn't seen it there. Okay,
Yeah.
as far as format, when we send our finished work or we send in our work in progress, what format? Should it be an HTML or
Microsoft Word?
Microsoft Word. That's
yeah.
what I sent my bio in. I was making sure because I couldn't remember. When I was
the
in
Word.
the other writing group, I think it was Microsoft Word.
Just the Word document. And at some point, I might get that all together and put it in a Google Doc so we can, we'll see how that goes. Maybe not. But yeah, for right now, I'll send it in a Word document. And like I said, you can be as creative as you like. And so please understand, once I do sit down and start reading these things, I'm going to, especially for those who are writing personal stories, if I feel there's an area where you need to give us a little bit more, I'll write that down. So, just be prepared that even though when you send me something in, you might get it back with some questions or comments on, how to make it more engaging. So, don't be offended when that happens.
Okay. All righty. Everybody else pretty much.
Okay.
Hey, gave you questions that I was wanting to have answers for, so I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any more questions or comments, concerns? We're good. Lisa, you said extrovert versus pandemic. Definitely, sure. For those of us who are introverts or extroverts, we've learned some things about ourselves during this pandemic. Even as an introvert, initially I was like, okay, I'm cool with this. But now it's like, okay, even as an introvert, I'm tired of this. I want to see my people. I want to, have people over. I want to, we want to barbecue.
We're all going to be at Lori's house after this.
Say what? You say something, Corey? Oh,
that was Michaela. She said, yeah, she wants to go to the river.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we got folks want to come over to the house. And so even as an introvert, I'm realizing I do have my limits of introvertedness. I'm tired of this. I'm tired. So once again, this teaching us some things about ourselves. And so we want to document that for, for history's sake. And Dr. M, I would love for you to convince Joshua to write something, maybe make that part of his homeschool assignment. I don't know, what his perspective is. But I would love to hear that from. He's such an astute young man, and he's funny. So I would, love to hear, living with my mama during a pandemic or something like that. So we're good. So we don't have any more questions or comments. I pray that all of you guys are doing well with this. I just speak blessings upon blessings. I speak divine health. I speak protection over all of your breathing systems. That all your mucous orifices are protected. That nothing enters in, mask or no mask. What you laughing about, Pat? 'Cause I said orifices. Whatever, I'm trying to pray. But anyway, so I just speak, blessings upon each of you. I pray that your wheels are turning. I pray that as I'm talking about the things that you guys can do beyond the book, that your babies are leaping. And, when you're ready to burst some things out, I'm the ideal midwife. I'm gloved up, we're ready to go. So with that being said, I'm going to end this meeting. Definitely, if you have any questions, shoot them to me in an email, and I respond pretty quickly. So we're good. All right, Miss Sandra, Patricia, Dr. M, Tiffany, Corey, Lisa, Debbie, Sheena, Fernice, Bettina, and my favorite person in all the world, Wayne. Thank you, guys.
Why he got to be the favorite?
Go Unky! Go Unky! Go Unky!
So thank you guys. Hang on, Pat. You got a few minutes to hang on. Patricia, Pat, you got a few minutes to hang on after this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so don't go off. We'll see you guys later. Get some rest, Dr. M. Start recording button.